Well, guys, this has been extremely helpful. I know for me to actually do this, to look through these, and it's helped me to understand a lot of the different people that I've had to work with, and even just to be able to see what are their cultural norms for their generation, and even working with you guys. I mean, just know so many. I didn't until I sat down realizing how many generations were represented here, and thinking, oh wow, this is why this person thinks differently, or this, and it's been really, really helpful for me, and I hope it's been helpful for you guys to be able to hear this and to be able to see, well, maybe that's why my parents acted differently to disappointment, or maybe that's why they didn't teach me this way about conflict, and just to realize that there's just such a difference between each generation, right? So now that we have the information, it's our job to be able to help people better. Right? At least more effectively. So does anybody have anything that they wanted to add before we close out?
Nope. I think we covered it.
We covered everything.
Nothing's impossible. I think that we need to be pliable and willing to help the different generations. I don't think we need to write off a generation.
No.
I think that we have the ability and the tools at hand to really make an impact. And our younger generations, they need us as well as our older ones. So I just think that we should plug in and learn and gain those tools to help.
Well, depending on your profession, you're dealing with all different generations, right?
Yeah.
Know your audience, as it were, as the saying
right.
goes, because you can't apply something, the same one thing to a Gen Zer, let's say, and you try to use the same thing to a baby boomer or a Gen X. It's not going to work.
That's right.
Exactly.
You have to alter your approach depending on
Exactly.
the generation that you're dealing with.
And that's our chaplaincy.
Yeah,
That's
it
our
is.
chaplaincy.
Absolutely.
It is. It's really 1 Corinthians where Paul says he became all things to all people in the hopes that he might save some. What that means is you adapt your approach to the way that your audience will receive it, in the hopes that you communicate the love of God, in the hopes that you communicate grace and mercy to them in the way that they're going to actually receive it. And so a little bit, it puts the responsibility on us to change and to adapt. And we want to speak out of our own lives and our own perspective, but chaplaincy is about getting out of yourself and trying to meet people where they're at. And so that's why it's so important to know how different groups of people respond. And you can segment this into lots of areas other than just age, parts of the country, ethnicity. There's lots of ways that you can approach this concept.
Social cultures.
Become a chameleon.
Yeah, and Brian, you actually, when you were saying that, for employers too, how important is this to know how to train and how to work with an employee who maybe you have to correct, because you actually are over a lot of people in IFOC that work for IFOC, actually everyone except for...
Every person in this room except for our CEO, ultimately.
And so I imagine that's been, for you, trying to balance, because you work with every generation. And so that's got to be a balance that you've had to learn too.
I don't know how well I've learned it, but we're working on it. In addition to generations, I have family that work here, and so it's an interesting approach. But yes, as often as we fail, we can learn something from those conversations and choose to approach it differently next time.
Very true.
And always relationship, right?
Yes.
If you know that someone cares about you,
Absolutely.
that can cover a multitude of misapproach or whatever.
Yes, what isn't restricted to generation is the concept of an emotional bank account. If somebody knows you care and you deposit into their life, you can make withdrawals, even if you accidentally mess it up and make too much of a withdrawal, or it's the too early is the problem. You can't give criticism too early. You can't correct too early. You have to build it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking out time out of your day to sit and have this conversation with me. Every one of you has added so much value to this. I definitely could not have done this by myself, and these papers and research were not adequate for what you guys actually taught me today. I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to share with us and to help us learn how to better serve and love people, that's our job.
Yeah.
And even if you're not a chaplain, like I said, there's always areas of life that you can learn to be able to serve and love people better. So we just want to thank you for being a part of this. If you missed any of the episodes before, please look at the links in the comment section, and you can find where to go back and watch any of the episodes that you might have missed, because you don't want to miss any of this. There's some good information. I may go back and rewatch them myself because it's so much to learn, and we all can grow. And anyway, thank you so much for joining us.